Hey, this is Sky. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So the goal in life is to have a lot of people at your funeral. I first realized that it was important to be a good person years ago. I never really gave a fuck. There was a long time I never cared about being a good person. That wasn't something that was really on my plate. I mean, good is a relative term anyways. No matter what you do, there's always going to be haters out there. Even if you do good, there's people that are going to talk shit about you, backstab you, rob you, cheat on you, fuck you over. This was my mentality. It finally dawned on me that I need to start making an active choice every day. I need to start trying harder to be a better person and to be kinder and more loving, more giving towards other people around me. Of course, your friends and family, but you need to expand that just to your entire community. Be a good person in your community. This shit never dawned on me. I never gave a fuck about any of this stuff. You know how it hit me? It hit me all at once. I was at a funeral. There was this chick I used to know. Her name was Kathy. She was a surfer. She was out in California. And she was a big time surfer, and I knew she had some kind of job that she did part time, but most of the time you could find her out there surfing. That was her thing. I mean, she was as tan as as a pair of leather boots. I mean, she was not wearing sunscreen. Kathy was out there on that surfboard in that water so much. She also rode a bike everywhere. She was a vegan, and she was a roommate of mine, and she made these nasty smoothies. Ugh. It'd put like wheatgrass in there and all kinds of crap. It would look like green mud. She'd always be like, "You want some?" Fuck no, I don't want none of that shit. Keep that shit away from me. She moved out and did her own thing. I moved. We were all living in a big house. A bunch of people living there. There was probably 6 or 7 people living there. I moved on, did my own thing. Ended up moving down to the barrio, Mexican gangland. I saw somebody around town that used to live at the house, and they were like, "Oh, did you hear about Kathy? Are you going to go to her funeral?" And I was just like, "Funeral? What the fuck are you talking about?" Turns out Kathy was riding her bike along the beach, very popular road to cruise along, beautiful drive, and some asshole ran her over, in a car, and killed her on her bicycle. Horrible tragedy. I knew Kathy. We weren't like real tight, but I figured, okay, I'll go. Why not? Anybody can show up, right? So I was told that the funeral was going to be held down on the beach. I figured it makes sense. She was a surfer. There's a big surfer community in the town I was living in. So, all right, I'll go down there and check it out. I was told what time, and I went and showed up that day. I forget what day it was, but we showed up. A little bit overcast, but still pretty nice out. As I pulled into the little parking lot nearest where I was told which beach, because there's several beaches, the parking lot was full. I had to park, kind of illegally park, but everybody else was doing it, so I didn't really care. Up on the grass, not even in a parking space. We walked up the little bike path towards the beach. And there was a beach down below and then a rocky cliff, maybe 30 feet high, and above that cliff was a tiny little park. Tiny little park that overlooked the ocean and overlooked the beach below. There were lots of people down on the beach because there's stairs to get down there, and there was lots of people down there, but there was even more people up in the park. Down below it was just full of surfers, hundreds of surfers. In the park, there was probably an additional 500 people. And I'm not kidding. It was jam-packed elbow to elbow. People were packed in like sardines. There was a little microphone set up, and there was somebody talking. Their voice was kind of blowing. As the wind would blow, you wouldn't hear their voice anymore because the speakers weren't big enough. But I saw everybody that I knew, people that I hadn't seen in years. I didn't even know these people knew Kathy. It was like a reunion. you're supposed to be there in a solemn mood, but I'm seeing people that just from all over the place. I couldn't believe how many people were there. It stunned me. I mean, I was shocked. I was shocked. It dawned on me right there. I was with my one of my best friends, one of my ride or die homies, been with me since we were teenagers. He didn't really know Kathy, but he had met her several times and was along for the ride. Tag along to a funeral. I turned to him and I was just like, yo, how many people you think will show up to your funeral? And he was like, well, you probably would. And I was just like, yeah, I might have you. Maybe if I'm lucky, I have my mother to identify the body. And that would be it. That would be it. This chick has 500 people plus another couple hundred down there on the beach. I had no idea she was so well liked, so well loved, that she was such a part of this community. I had no clue. She was just some regular chick. It's not like she was an activist or a hero or she didn't have some important job. She wasn't the mayor. Apparently, everybody knew Kathy and everybody loved her. They gave a touching little ceremony and her mother spoke and other family members and people got up one by one on the microphone. And then they had the surfer, what do you call it? The surfer portion of the funeral. It was like a dedication. I guess surfers do this. I'd never seen it before, but they do this. And you got, more than 50, at least 100 surfers, all paddle out. Big, long line of them, both directions, all paddle out. The waves were calm that day, real calm, almost no waves. And they paddle way out there. I was like, Jesus Christ, how far out are they gonna go? They went way out there, way into shark territory. I'm standing on the cliff looking out on it. The surfers all gathered in a big giant circle, massive circle. They each grabbed hands. On both sides, they're grabbing hands with somebody, and they created this giant, massive surfer circle. They're all sitting on their surfboards, floating in the water. I didn't know what was going on. I'd never seen a surfer ceremony like that before. I thought it was cool. This is her people. She was a big-time surf girl, and surfers from all over the area, all over the region, came to celebrate her death. It wasn't just the ones in town, it was everybody. They had surf gangs in that town. East side, west side, everybody came together. Everybody was there. The Point Boys were there, the West Siders, those motherfuckers, I hated them. They had all kinds of little surf crew people there. If you don't know about surf gangs, that's a California thing. They've been going on since the 50s. They're gangs. These guys sell drugs and beat each other up and they gangbang. But they're surfers. I can make a whole other video on that shit. But everybody was there, out there in the water, holding hands. And when everybody got together and the circle finally formed, and it was a perfect circle, you would think that they wouldn't be able to really create, they created a perfect circle. I could see pretty well from that vantage point. And all of those people, all at once, on cue, screamed as loud as they could into the air. It was bone chilling. It put goosebumps on my arms. And they're all just sitting there holding hands, just screaming as loud as they can. About 100 of them floating out there in the water. And that just echoed all along the cliffs. If anybody was whispering or talking up on that cliff, all 500 of those people, they were silent. You could hear a pin drop for miles. All you could hear was that scream. And it was like a war cry. After that was over, I had to get out of there. I was just getting too emotional. I was just like, God damn, man. It really put me to think, is anybody going to hold any kind of shit like that for me? They throw me in a mass grave in a pit and walk off. I'd be lucky if anybody was even standing around to shed a tear or to say, oh, he was a good dude. And I realized, you know what? People talk about the meaning of life all the time. What's the meaning of life? They talk about that shit all the time. Wonder, what's the meaning of life? What are you here for? That's what you're here for. To make sure motherfuckers show up at your funeral. If you're not on a path of mind, body, and soul, and you're not trying to be a good person, you need to start now. Thanks for watching.